a movement corrupted and destroyed? Dr. Nazir Gilani. Although J. M. Berry wrote his comic stage play Admirable Crichton, the alternative title, Circumstances Alter Cases, in 1902, history witnessed that the circumstances surrounding the Osama's death had altered cases in the in-camera joint session of Pakistan Parliament, where the military establishment and the premier intelligence agency ISI appeared for the first time in the parliamentary history of the country and were subjected to rigorous question-answer session on the Abbottabad incident. It may be that under Article 243 the federal government has the control of the armed forces, yet military establishment in Pakistan and its intelligence agencies have remained a government within a government and in charge of foreign policy. Kashmir has remained a part of their inclusive on foreign policy. Circumstances in fact have altered the cases of authority to the extent that the Director General Inter-Services Intelligence, ISI, Lieutenant General Ahmed Shuja Pasha during the in-camera session of the parliament admitted intelligence failure in the Abbottabad raid which led to the killing of Osama bin Laden. The ISI chief said he surrenders himself before the parliament, according to Federal Minister for Information Dr. Firdaus Ashiq Ain, who was herself present at the in-camera joint sitting of the parliament. She said, "The DGISI has accepted responsibility of the Abbottabad incident and is ready to present himself for accountability on any forum including the parliament." A day after the in-camera session of the parliament, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, PMLN, Chief Mir Nawaz Sharif has demanded that army and intelligence agencies' budget should be presented in the assembly. Addressing a press conference following a meeting with U.S. Ambassador to Pakistan Cameron Munter in Lahore, Nawaz Sharif stated that foreign policy making is not the business of agencies, adding that agencies must not make alliance and divide political parties. PMLN will not allow government within government. He also demanded that an independent commission should be constituted at the earliest and those responsible for Abbottabad incident be unmasked. Circumstances without doubt have started altering the case of hidden authority in favor of the authority of an elected parliament in the country. How far would the elected members of the parliament succeed to control military establishment in accordance with Article 243 of the Constitution, their oath under Third Schedule and the surrender of the state institutions before the supremacy of the parliament depends on the abilities of the elected members to guard and discharge the public trust. It has come as a surprise to every common Pakistani and their elected members in the parliament to learn from the Air Chief Rao Qamar Suleiman that Pakistan's Shamsi Air Base is under the control of United Arab Emirates, not in the control of Pakistan Air Force. While briefing the joint in-camera session of Parliament on Friday, the Air Chief said our radar system was not jammed at the time when U.S. Navy SEALs helicopters conducted a raid in a compound in Abbottabad. He said, "I do not know where from the helicopters that participated in the Abbottabad operation that killed Osama bin Laden were flown. It is a disturbing case of contracting out sovereign use of Pakistan territory to a third country and failing to defend the territorial integrity of the country. It is obvious that Kashmir has not remained a subject of any civilian government in Pakistan and army establishment and its intelligence agencies have continued to manage this segment of Pakistan's foreign policy." The following quotes from an article titled Our Own Destroyers written by Ayaz Amir, a member of the Pakistan's National Assembly, on Friday, May 13, 2011 in the News International. Islamabad invites every concerned Kashmiri to revisit the merits of their political and militant components of the struggle that began in 1990, Ayaz Amir writes. Long after the Americans departed, when the entire dynamics of the game had changed, we kept playing it. And, drawing the wrong conclusions, for good measure opened another jihadi front in Indian-held Kashmir. Kashmir was not liberated but an indigenous movement of resistance was corrupted and destroyed. Furthermore, the militias raised and trained for Kashmir over time turned into domestic problems. The spectre of terrorism haunting Pakistan has many dimensions, but through them all runs the common thread of the culture of jihad sponsored and promoted by Pakistan's official agencies. And even after the world has changed, and so much of conventional wisdom lies atop the trash cans of history, we haven't been able to rid our minds of such strange notions as of good and bad jihadis. The world has moved on. Times have changed. We remain stuck in the past, none more so than our military guardians. In a country like Pakistan, the military should be a repository of enlightened ideas, secular and progressive in its thinking. Yet what we see is the phenomenon of the army's worldview having much in common with the thinking of the most reactionary sections of Pakistani society, as represented by the cohorts of the far right. Ayaz Amir remains under oath as a member of parliament and is a leading columnist in Pakistan. Therefore, his assessment that Kashmir was not liberated but an indigenous movement of resistance was corrupted and destroyed, makes the political and militant leadership of Kashmir an accomplice in the corruption and destruction of the indigenous movement of Kashmir. It may be that the various variables of wisdom in Kashmiri political and militant struggle were either taken by surprise and had no time to examine the merits of the character of politics and militancy introduced in Kashmir, or maybe that out of fear could not dare to consider the consequences of a support which did not have a blessing of the wisdom provided in the Constitution of Pakistan or in accordance with the obligations accepted by the state of Pakistan at the UN and in its constitutional relationship with the government of AJK. The various variables of concern that have started surfacing since the military establishment appeared before an in-camera session of Parliament of Pakistan, and more so that a piece of sovereign Pakistan is being contracted out to a third country without the knowledge of common man and woman, should alert every school of politics and civil opinion in Kashmir to start examining whether or not they have also erred in contracting out their rights movement, without any control of or reference to the Kashmiri people. The statement made by a member in the National Assembly of Pakistan that an indigenous movement of resistance was corrupted and destroyed in Kashmir merits a serious consideration. Our movement has been corrupted and destroyed under our very nose, and we have failed to raise a credible eyebrow. It is possible to make sincere and rigorous efforts to purge the movement of all vestiges of corruption. Unfortunately, it is not possible to reverse the death of self-determination, death of a generation. We have not only destroyed the movement but have helped India and Pakistan in killing the right of self-determination by failing to save a generation. The death of a generation is the death of self-determination. Our subservience to the Kashmir policy formulated and controlled by the military establishment in Pakistan may have proportionately made our political and militant struggle suspect in the hearts and minds of the elected representatives and the elected governments in Pakistan. More so, the suspect character of our rights movement was picked up by the opinion radar of international community, and it began to distance away from the tragedy of Kashmir. Have we remained complicit in the corruption and destruction of an indigenous movement is an important question, and it begs an answer. Author is London-based Secretary-General of JKCHR, NGO in special consultative status with the United Nations, and can be mailed at dr-nazir@jkchr.com.